Hi, I'm Greg from RV Haulers. I want to show you today a big money saver. Over time, our semis, as we're traveling along on the highway, they get faced with a lot of gravel and sand from oncoming vehicles. And over time, especially on the driver's side, you'll find that our lenses on our headlights as well as on our driving lights down in the bumper, they get pitted. And they'll also, over time, just get quite hazed and yellowed. And those headlight assemblies are really expensive. Many of the Generation 2 headlights are well in excess of $500 a piece to replace. The ones down in the bumper are less expensive. And we'll end up with, over time, a lens that looks like this. Now this is one of the lenses that I've taken out of the bumper, and you'll see that it's really dull. When a lens gets like this, we lose a lot of the lighting quality. What we want to do is get a lens that looks like this. I'm going to show you today how we sand and prepare these to get them back looking good without having to spend hundreds of dollars per lens. There's that lens assembly out of the bottom bumper on the front of that Volvo. You can see it's very pitted. What we're going to use is an orbital sander, and we're going to work from some fairly aggressive sandpaper through 280, 400, 600, all the way up to 800, and finally even some of my finer polishing compounds on our buffing wheel. We're then going to clean it up with a microfiber cloth, make sure there's no dust on it. We're going to apply some clear coat finish, and when we're done, we're going to have lenses that look like that. These ones, I find, these lenses, it's easier to take them out of the truck to work on them rather than in the truck, because I can get into each of these corners quite nicely. There are 3 10mm bolts that go into the side of each of these lenses, so they're very quick and easy to take off, and get them on your bench to work with and make sure we do a good job. I found the easiest way to work on these is in my bench vise. So I'll put them in there, and it is plastic, so you don't want to be too aggressive on these, but get them snugged in there pretty well. I'm going to start with a fairly aggressive sandpaper. This one's a 100 grit. This lens is really pitted, so I'm going to need to take it down a fair bit. Now you'll know you've gone far enough down when you can't see any more of the rock chip pits, and in this case there's still quite a few in the plastic, so I've got further to go. I think we've taken this one down enough. I don't find too many rock chips in there, so we'll move from 100 to 150 and keep working it down. I'm going to work through all of the sandpapers over time, right through to 600 and 800. So you can see it's really changing in appearance. We're going to keep working it down. It's really important to go through all the sanding stages, all the subsequent steps, because if you try to go too fast, you can end up with some swirl marks in the end. And this is still a little cloudy and there's little tiny marks in there, but the next stage of sandpaper will take those out. So that was 600 and here's 800. There's the end of our sanding stages. Still looks a little cloudy, but you'll see when we get into the polishing compounds it'll really start to shine up. I'm going to use my buffing wheel to do the final polish on these lenses. I'm going to start with a little bit more of a coarse polishing compound. So it's not the wheel that does the polishing here, it's actually the compound that gets in there, a little bit of abrasive that's here in this material. So we're going to put some of this on the wheel and we're going to work it. You always want to make sure you don't have the leading edge catching this, because of course it's going to fly out of your hands and probably get busted. So we're going to work it just back and forth. You don't want to push too hard because you can generate some heat and you'd end up melting this. So we're going to work it fairly lightly. We'll do one edge, we'll do them every different direction so that we're kind of working all the little small scratches out over time. Still got a few little swirl marks and scratches here. Now we'll use the last polishing compound. And we want to give them a good cleaning to make sure that there are no particles left on here or dust. And the last step is to use our clear coat finish. What this does is put a protective barrier on the lens so that it can't wear through. It's less likely to wear through over time. We want to get it nice and flat so we don't have any chance of runs. We're going to probably give it 2 or 3 coats, let it dry fairly well in between, And after 48 hours, it's tough as nails and our lenses look almost like new.